Hello students, welcome to my at-home art studio. It used to be a playroom and a guest bedroom, and lo and behold, it is now my art studio and everything creative. So today we're going to be doing a painting using Van Gogh's impasto style, which is those short, thick brush strokes that have a lot of paint, and some of the paint is dual or even tricolored paints. And so I'm going to give it a go and give it a try with my favorite picture that I took several years ago at Mason Lake. It's a sunset picture. So let's go ahead and get started. I am using some Arteza acrylic paints. I just got them from Amazon to use at home so I could have some paints at home. I used just a pizza pan, honestly, to paint on. And I've set out my color palette here. I am doing a sunset scene, and so these are the colors that I will mix together. So I have yellow ochre, lemon yellow, cadmium orange, scarlet red, titanium white, phthalo blue, ultramarine, and Mars black. The brushes that I'm using, I'm really going to try to use a bunch of flat brushes today. So you can see the flat brushes are the ones that are going to have kind of an angular tip to them, not necessarily the round brushes. And then I have a 16 by 20 canvas, and I have my photo up there of the sunset that I'm painting. I want to put a quick shout out to all those essential workers out there, especially the UPS guy and our mail lady and our mailman that have come and given us all these awesome things at our house. They bring the world to us here, and my children literally jumped up and down with excitement because the UPS truck came yesterday. He was bringing Nutella, which is very important apparently in our house, but we are so thankful for them and for all the frontline workers, the firefighters and paramedics, those first responders, police officers, nurses, doctors, medical assistants, everybody that's out there that's risking their lives right now. I just want to put a quick shout out to them because I firsthand know that they're risking everything for all of us. And so I just really appreciate them and want to say thank you. Okay, so this is my canvas and I'm all set and ready to go. One of the first things that I do is I want to sketch out some basic areas on my canvas of where I want the paint to go. And in order to sketch, you definitely need a pencil. So any pencil will work. I happen to have a 2B pencil, so that is what I'm going to be using. And I am not real precise on this, and like I said, this is just a sketch. And the cool thing about acrylic paints is that you can paint over anything, and even if it doesn't cover it up the first time around, you can go over it again and it will cover it up. So when I look at my inspiration photo here, I see that halfway through is where those trees are going to be, and so I'm just going to draw and sketch just a real light line there to show me where those trees are going to be, and just kind of do a basic outline so that I know when I'm doing my painting where those are going to be. And then I know underneath here is where that dock is going to be with the water. Obviously these are not, I'm going to add those details later, but this gives me an idea of where I should put those colors in there in the painting. Okay, so just like in the tutorials that you should have watched by now, I'm going to use a flat brush. And my brush is going to be a little bit bigger. In fact, I think I might even use this bigger brush for the bigger sky and water scenes. And my brush strokes are going to change from the water to the sky, kind of like Van Gogh had in his paintings. The water is much shorter strokes, and you can even see that this picture lends itself to some shorter strokes. And then the sky strokes are going to be more like that of which we saw yesterday in Starry Night. So let's go ahead and get started. I go in and I like to start with the lighter colors. And so when I look, I'm going to see these kinds of oranges and reds that are going to come in here in the sky. And so I'm going to mix up an orange color with my I lied. This is scarlet red and this is crimson red. I had two different colors. And if you'll notice, I used quite a bit of yellow there, and then I used quite a bit of that red. And what happened was that red totally overpowered that yellow. And so I need to come back in with far more yellow and create that much lighter orange that I wanted to capture in that picture. So I come in and I'm going to grab some of that there, but I'm also going to grab some of that yellow that's on the back side to give that dual color, kind of like they pointed out yesterday or pointed out in those tutorials online. And then I go and I look and see where are those oranges and yellows, and I'm going to use my brush sideways to give me some of those streaky lines in there. And you can go back and forth if you want. What you'll notice, if you can see on here, is that I get some of that canvas poking through. And that's not necessarily the look that I want, but if you'll notice when I go back over it, that canvas is then covered up. So the other thing that I'm noticing as I go through this is that I want my colors to be a little bit brighter. And in order to do that, I'm going to grab some white. And I'm actually going to brighten them up just a little bit with that white in there and make that orange not as dark at that point. So I'm going to get some yellow and some whites in there. And we'll go back into the canvas and you can see it makes the difference, getting kind of those lighter colors in there. And the idea with this is to really just go in and lay down a foundation of that sky. So you can kind of see, I just want to lay down that base orange color, and then I can go over that later. And I just keep going back and adding in those paints. Grabbed a little more yellow so that I can get those orange colors in the sky and bring it back this way. And what I'm seeing is that it's far more orange than I want it to be, but that's okay, because I'm going to come back in later and I am going to paint a little bit different colors on top of that. Again, that's the awesomeness of acrylic paints, is you can come back over them and create different colors. Okay. So now that I have kind of that orange foundation on there, I know that my trees are going to be in the background here. I'm going to go in and I want to get that pink and that purple that's happening in there. So I'm going to go ahead and wash off my brush in the water. Make sure you have water available to get your brush completely washed off. I have this cool little container here and it has a little hole in the top, so I'm not going to spill the water. Some might think that that's actually for my children, but the reality is it's actually for me. I am far messier than they are, and they come by it very naturally with their messiness. Okay, so my brush is good and washed off. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to dry it off, because if I leave that paint on there, or the water on there, then it's going to water down my paint, which I don't want to do. Okay. So I need to get into those pinks, and white and red are actually going to make those pinks. So I'm going to pull a little bit of that scarlet red and a little bit of that crimson red, and I'm going to work it into that white and channel a little bit of my Bob Ross in there to get those pinks and really kind of get that sky of those pinks up on the top. Happy little sky. And I really want to kind of get those streaks there is what I wanted, except for it's really bright with red. But again, I don't need it to be perfect to the picture. My picture is more of the inspiration behind all of this. The idea is to get those big brush strokes in there. In the same general area, the same general feeling of those brush strokes in the painting or in the picture. And I can tell right away I did not give myself enough white, but that's okay, I have more. If you want to look for an inexpensive way to get some paints, Michaels has these cool Craft Smart paints. They're acrylic paints as well, and they delivered to our house as well. This is what I bought for my children so that they could paint along with me, and so that's a really great way to get some inexpensive acrylic paints as well. And Michaels has pretty good deals on canvases. Again, don't go out and buy, but if you want to and you're looking for some, that is my suggestion to you. So I am going to come back in here. My paints are still a little bit wet, and you can see I'm actually pulling some orange from the canvas into my palette, which is okay because that's going to give those blendings of those colors. I still am using the big brush strokes to get that impasto brush stroke feel like Van Gogh used. And all of my brush strokes in the sky are really going to take kind of that long, loose lines that he used in his paintings. Obviously, when we go back after the blue, you can still cover up the blue. It's just not as easy. I like to get those lighter colors down first. All right, so trying to get the basics of those colors. I think I'm very close. Get in here just a little bit. Okay, so there's the water and the sky to get us started with our sunset. The next thing that I'm going to work on is getting those purples and blues. I'm going to use a bigger brush for the sky for that, although I did like how that smaller brush worked. But I still am going to use a bigger brush. Now, I do have to be careful with my palette when I'm mixing these colors. And the reason why is that when I start to mix the yellows in with those blues, that's going to give me more of a green color. And I don't really have a green palette in my inspiration photos. So I really need to make sure that when I'm mixing, I'm staying away from those yellow areas. And I don't even think I'm going to be using that scarlet red because it does have those orange tones to it. And so that's my stay away from area. The other thing that I'm going to need to do is let this dry, because if there are any yellows that are still left on my palette up here and I put those blues in there, they're going to mix and it's going to make green as well. So I really need to take a break and come back. stop for today. I got to a really great stopping point on my painting, and I am going to put this all together, upload it so that you can see my progress so far. I hope that you had fun painting today. I will, or whatever you did, if you drew or colored or used markers or whatever the medium was that you used, I hope you had a good time with it today. Remember, I really only want you spending about a half an hour on these. And if you didn't finish your project from today, no worries, come back to it another day. Even if I give you something tomorrow, my point for each of the days is to, if I give you something that might take a little bit longer, go back to it the next day or put it aside, come back to it when you're looking for something to do. It's my hope that you want to go and do your art and use it as something that helps to make you happy.